we'll get going. And Brittany, go ahead and unmute yourself if you can.
It is recording.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So hi, everyone. Don't mind me and how I look. I'm 8 months pregnant. I'm so excited to bring Miss Brittany on. Brittany, go ahead and unmute yourself. Y'all, and I have to be honest, I have 5 really, really good questions for her tonight. And I wanted to dig deep, and I wanted this to be something that you guys don't hear all the time. You always hear, how we build, how we network, how we enroll. And I think a lot of what we do is internal and working on ourselves and, discovering that confidence in ourselves. And Brittany, I've never told her this. She used to intimidate me a lot because she's so fierce and she's so boss, and she always has her hair done and her makeup done and in the gym and doing squats. And I'm like, I can't keep up with that. So before I kind of dive into these questions, and all these questions are, a little bit deep, but when I met you in Texas this past weekend, I realized that 90% of your story and what you've been through the past 5-7 years, I didn't even know. You've never really opened up about it. I kind of had to peel those layers back. So if you could just kind of give us, a little 5-minute story of where you were. And I'm excited to hear it too. I don't know how far you want to go back, but just go, take it over.
Well, thank you guys for all hopping on. I'm really excited and very nervous, actually. I'm going to be completely transparent because a lot of the things I'm going to talk about tonight, I know that there's people that have even either gone through it, going through it, or have overcome it. And so for me, I want to shed a little light just because so many of us have come from different walks in life. And I don't want you to ever feel like that defines you. So for me, I'm going to just real quick go through the first section of my life just so you can kind of understand. I grew up in a very good Christian home, very structured Christian home, went to private school my whole life until high school. Talked to my parents into sending me there. At a young age, I had my son. I had my son at 17. I was a rebellious child. I ran from God from the time I was 12 all the way until 22. And so for me, having my son at such a young age, never being really around anything until I went to high school, I didn't know what to do. I was completely just 0 to 60 real quick. My son's father had a baby behind my back that I didn't know about. And long story short, it made me just want to numb. I was in nursing school at the time, trying to get my life together for him, but also just completely broken and lost inside. At a young age, I started hanging around the wrong people. Unfortunately, there's people that were doing pills in school, things like that, which quickly led me into being curious about that, being curious about how I can numb my pain, which led into a pill addiction. I struggled very strongly. Went from this normal Christian girl to full-blown addict within a year time. I had my son live with my mom because I didn't want him around that environment. I didn't want him around those circumstances and the things that I was doing. So when the time he was about 1.5 when that happened, and I went spiraling down even further from there. I was on the streets with my ex at the time because, let's face it, I had men issues clearly. And at that time, I was lost. I looked back and I just started wanting to numb even more and not more and more. And it quickly led into a heroin addiction. And during that time frame, and I'm going to get transparent, you guys, because from how I was raised to who I was during that dark, trench of my life, I never would have recognized that person and the things I did, things, I have stories. Fast forward that because no matter what, God was always following me. He was always protecting me. He was always kind of just trying to shake me. And I hung around the wrong people, did the wrong things. And long story short is it took me overdosing to cry out to God and ask for change and ask for me to get my life together. Because if I didn't get my life together, I was going to take my life. That's where I was at, mentally, because I didn't find a way out. So that was a Friday night that I had overdosed. By that time on a Friday, I got into a rehab program called the Dream Center. And if you guys might know of it, some of you do, some of you don't. in Los Angeles, and the Dream Center is a year-long wait normally. They had me in by Monday, which is like totally like a Jesus thing. So for me, like, that's why I don't ever want to cast my religion out on you guys or anything like that, because there's a big difference between religion and relationship. And so for me, like, I grew up religious. I don't say, hey, I'm religious. I believe in God, because God showed up in my life at a time that I hated him and no one had nothing to do with it. During that time, I found myself. That's like a lot of where I started kind of seeing how if you plug into the deep roots of what are holding you back in life, like, why was I numbing? Why was I running from myself? Why wasn't I being the best version of myself? Why was I, like, deep down knowing that something was there, but I couldn't figure out what that something was? And for me, I devoted my life. I got held back in that program. I was super rebellious in that program. I was there for 16 months. I didn't want to surrender all the way. And it took me getting real and raw with myself and getting held back an extra 3 months. And I ended up staying an extra 6 months into that program after I graduated and devoting my time to helping lead the women in that program because of how impacted I was. So I was away from my son for a total of 2 years. When I moved back, I met a guy in the Dream Center, thought he was from Jesus. Let's just say it wasn't. Let's just be honest. Still hadn't dealt with my guy issues. Long story short, we got married because he moved out here, and at that time I didn't want to live together and not be married. We got married. I didn't know him long, and quickly found out the real him behind closed doors was a full-blown recovering addict. He was a security at church. Like, I had no idea. Full-blown recovering addict, full-blown alcoholic. At that time, this was in 2013 that I moved back. In 2013, I got a job, came back, got my life together. He moved out here. We got married. And then I started, being on social media. I stopped hanging around all the wrong people and started seeing people do network marketing and started seeing it on social media and things like that. And that's kind of how I found network marketing, which honestly was my saving grace back in 2015, because I had been in such a bad relationship and I was pretending like it was so healthy on the outside because I didn't want to fail in front of people and prove my family right. I didn't want to prove my friends right. I didn't want to prove everyone right, that they knew that deep down I was still running from things. So dealing with the alcoholic husband, I had to fight my mom in court to get my son back. Got my son back. There's a lot to my story, so I don't want to take too much time and go into it.
No, this is really good. And it actually, really goes into my next question, which is, and I think this is huge in every aspect for us to produce at our optimal level as a mom, a wife, a friend, a business owner, like every single day. When did your journey to self-care and self-love start? Because I know those two words, self-love, like, that's not normal. Like, when people hear those words, they're like, you're not supposed to love yourself. And it can be kind of scary in the beginning when people tell you, read books or do things that make you happy. Like, it's kind of intimidating because we're so used to taking care of everyone else. We forget to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
So now I see you at a place. That person you just described, I don't even know who that is. The only person I know is Brittany Dawn, who sends me her favorite, Bible verses and voice messages and just such positivity. So when did that journey to self-care start, and has it evolved with you?
In a way it did. For me, at that time when I was married and when I finally got accountable in that situation, I was crying because my husband would be like binge drinking for like 3 weeks straight and wasn't even like human at that point. I got accountable and I started going to the gym because I was 218 at that point. Like, I was very heavy. I used food as a numbing mechanism. Since I wasn't using drugs, I was using food. So for me, I started looking at myself in the mirror, and I was talking so much crap to myself. But then I realized, like, no one's going to love me until I love myself. And that's truly like what it came down to. Because if this is the man that I attracted, that's because of the mindset that I'm at. And if that is the life that I have right now, that's because of what I'm putting out. And I started seeing that because of the self-work I had done in the Dream Center. I guess I started seeing that there. But really, I got accountable with the outside appearance during that divorce period. Around the time I started working out, which is so cliche, I started really putting that self-care in, but I wasn't getting my mind straight. And mind you, I was with my previous company during this time. And I want to just go into that really, really quick, because at that time, I didn't do any self-development in my previous company, you guys. And I want to make that very clear. I rose very good in that company to a point that it wasn't maintainable, though, because it wasn't built on a foundation. And the foundation that sets the reason why this business is so different than my previous company is, one, because my foundation's strong. And it's because of our leaders that have poured into me and taught me how important it is to put this first. And so when I had joined, I had already started working out. I started kind of eating healthy, but I wasn't doing this. And when I left my previous company and took that time off because it didn't align with me, I had taken 8 months off. I was going through my divorce. I bought a house at the same time. I left my previous company. I felt completely lost still. Like I was still lost. And I didn't like that. And so even though my outside I had done work on, I wasn't happy. And I was still so lost in that part. So really when it got accountable was when I saw my leader that had got me to start happy, and we had gone through some similar things. And so I saw her happy, and I was like, I want to be a part of that. Like, I just want to be happy. And so you guys, I didn't click with self-development at first. I mean, I'm going to be real with that. Like, I didn't do it, Katie. Like, even, like I was a different person when I walked into this business, you guys. Like, it took me, honestly, I went 40K last year in May, and I had an ectopic pregnancy that time. And I have like, if you guys don't know my whole story, I have fertility issues. I have to have IVF, which I'm totally accepted of and fine of now. But I've had 3 ectopic pregnancies, and the first 2 ruined me. Like, they made me like so depressed, so lost. And when me and Nick had this recent one back in May, I promised myself I wouldn't get like that again. I promised myself that I wasn't going to get swallowed into my circumstances, and that I had to rise above it for myself and for my son. So that's really when my self-development started clicking for me, was when I was like, no matter what circumstance I'm faced with, I control the response. Mm-hmm. So that's like really where it clicked.
And will you tell us, I guess I should have asked this before I dive into the next question, just a quick summary, like, what does self-development for your mind mean to you? And how do you do that? How do you incorporate it? Because some people, they just, they do a podcast, and like sometimes that one book or that one podcast, it's not enough. So how have you instilled it in your life to where it's changed you?
I am very consistent, and I think everyone knows that about me. And it's because I look at everything and realize what it takes. And I know that at the end of the day, you guys, if you want change, you got to be that change. And truly what it comes down to is you have to get up in the morning. If you have a schedule, you got to put yourself first. I am selfish. And I have no problem saying that. In order for me to be the best mom, in order for me to be the best person and make the impact in my life that I'm wanting to make, I got to put me first. And if I'm not feeling this mindset, and for me, it's not always just books or always just podcasts. Like, sometimes it's working out in the morning and just getting myself in a higher vibe state, and then doing like different podcasts. Really what it comes down to is operating in a higher energy. So whatever works for you there, whether it be like blasting some crazy music and getting like going in the morning, and then feeding your mind with the knowledge, like, it doesn't have to be cookie cutter. It has to fit you. But you got to do it first thing in the morning, because, and I know that sounds crazy. I do it throughout the whole day sometimes, but like, the thing is, like, first thing in your morning, you guys, is when your brain juices start going. And within the first, like they say, like 5 minutes of your morning, your brain's going to operate either into a negative or a positive. And if your brain's going straight into a negative, that's where you got to start checking, like recognizing, checking, and then doing a different action, whether that be going and blasting crazy music that makes you happy, or going and plugging into a book or an Audible. Like, I don't care. But if you feel yourself being negative, tell negative Nancy to sit down and do something different there. So
yeah. That's so good. And I love that. And I've never really spoke about it like that. I guess I always tell people what I do, but you do have to find what works for you, and just getting up and getting these products in your body, doing a 20-minute workout, walking outside, doing squats when your kids are eating breakfast, just moving your body around, you're going to start performing. It is a high vibe atmosphere, and that's so good for your brain. So I really love this next question because it kind of reminds me of the live I did yesterday, and I understand when people get involved in this, like we think about what can this do for us? We think about money. We think about, oh my gosh, I have all this debt I want to pay off. And sometimes we don't notice it. And this is okay because we have to learn, but we are operating out of, sometimes we're working out of like desperation and fear and lack and insecurity. And we're not working with like true raw passion. So my question is, and this is from the beginning of Thrive, not the beginning of I guess it could be the beginning of your.
No, I'm going to go from the beginning.
But how has your mindset shifted from like how you used to operate and work to where it is now? Because what I know about you is like, when you're going for a promotion, like you don't care about yours. You care about every single VIP 800 that you can pop, every 4K. You pop, Brittany, when I say this, you pop more 4Ks than anyone I know on this team. You're constantly building and helping other people. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, for me, you guys, like, and I'm going to be completely transparent because it took me going through something, this business, similar to Katie. Like when I went through my own trench, my own rock bottom, I built this business very selfishly the first 6 months. I was all in it for me and what I was getting out of it. And, my goal was to get that car. My goal was to bring myself home and retire myself. And cool, I made that happen because I know how to stay consistent and I know how to work. And we all have those same resources to learn how to do that, you guys. But what made it different, the second, I really say my launching point was when my business started to crumble because I wasn't building it solidly upon others. And what I'm trying to explain is I went 40K fast, but what happened was I wasn't built on a foundation, and I was tying my business and to everyone else's type of leadership or everyone else's vibe or everyone else's stuff and not being me. And truly, that's what it came down to. I wasn't being me, and I wasn't serving others. I wasn't figuring out what was going on with other people. So for me, my business changed, my mindset changed when I started looking at people with instead of looking at people, I always tell my team, don't look at people as if they have a dollar sign above their head. Look at people as if they have a heart. You got to understand someone is going through something, and it's so much more than just money, and it's so much more than just like amazing products. You guys, we got to have that confidence in what we have our hands on. You joined for a reason, and I'm a huge believer if God brought you to it, he'll bring you through it. So whatever your path is right now, whatever you're going through, that's a part of your journey that you got to start being vulnerable and transparent with, but you also got to start serving others. And I promise it's hard at first to get out of that mindset of not being in desperate mode or not like me. It really is. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but that's where self-love and grace and working on and growth and understanding that's a part of your journey. But truly serving people, figuring out what's going on with them, figuring out what they're going through, figuring out how you can build value upon helping someone.
And it's okay if you're still figuring out, we do kind of join for a selfish reason. And I think, when you truly take a step back and you say, okay, that's 12K, that rank, like that to me, my immediate thought is, I always tell my girls, like, you need to go build yourself to 4K and then teach 3 people how to do it. Don't look at that as you have to go, bring in $12,000 a month with sales. Think about helping 4 people go 4K and what that's going to do for them. So, when you start operating out of love and you're not, constantly feeling like you have to prove a point or you have to hit this at a certain time, or you want that instant gratification to make that sale, and you take a step back, people can sense when you're desperate. They can sense when they just feel like, I don't post a lot about like because I sell a lot of samples through stories. So like on payday and stuff, I don't share a lot of my paydays on my stories because I want, those people to know, like, I love what I do. I love my products. You're not just a sale to me. You're not just a $25. I want to show you how incredible these products are. So I think it's wording and confidence and the way you interact and talk with people, over these next 12 months, if you could do anything, investing in other people and building relationships without you wanting to attach yourself to an enrollment is the best thing you can do for your business. Okay, next question. And I think a lot of people need to hear this because a lot of times I get, well, I'm enrolling, but no one's working. I hit 4K and then everyone quit. Like, Brittany, how do you, and I guess this might be a little manifestation vibe, but how do you find such hard workers? Like, you popped like 3 12Ks last month, 3 4Ks, and it's been consistently like that since like January, February. How do you find those workers and how do you instill that confidence in them to do it?
Okay, so this is where I'm thankful for the leaders I'm building in my tribe because this is something I'm working on because sometimes I'm not the most, sometimes I think it's because I've been through so much, sometimes excuses don't faze me. And so I'm very like, if you want this, then you need to get accountable. I'm tough love, you guys, but I'm also doing it with a loving heart because I know that what you're going through is a part of your journey and I know you have to go through it, but I'm also going to be like, okay, girl, this is what you need to do. And in order to get to where you want to go, you got to start getting real and raw with yourself. Like you got to start getting consistent. You got to start figuring out what works for you. What things are you doing? So when it comes to like the person that feels like, you're not signing people, you're not getting the results that you truly do. This is where you got to ask yourself. Are you in the mindset that's feeding your fear or are you in the mindset that's feeding your faith? Because if you're always operating, this is what I tell my girls too. Like if you're chasing a butterfly, what happens? A butterfly keeps flying away. If you're letting you just let be and start changing that thought, the butterfly is going to land on you. So when you're seriously operating out of desperation mode, and I've been through it, you guys, when my business started crumbling, this is my sole income, I got in desperate mode and guess what? My business wasn't sustaining. I had to get real and check that mindset because this is the thing. What your thoughts that you're feeding is the result that you're going to get. And I know it sounds so cheesy and so because I was not into this, you guys, at all. But I promise you, if you start feeding instead of always speaking death over yourself, and what I mean by that, instead of always speaking negative, like my business isn't growing, it's not working for me, it's not happening, da 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 da. Start changing what you're telling yourself. Start changing that mindset. Start changing the words you're speaking over your business. Because if you're speaking your business and saying, I can't see this, it's not happening, it's not growth, that's why you keep getting that same result because you keep telling yourself and you keep speaking that into life. If you start telling yourself a different result and then aligning your action with what you're telling yourself, guess what? Things start happening. That's the thing, you guys. You are the key. There's no one different than you or I or any of the leaders. It's you. And until you start getting real and raw with yourself and asking yourself, are you giving 100% every single freaking day? Not once in a blue moon, not, hey, I'm only showing up and posting every couple of days, or you're not working your IPAs consistently. You guys got to understand, if you haven't read The Compound Effect or GoPro, you need to. Those books, you guys, launched my business. And the reason why is it taught me how to have conversations. They taught me how that compounded efforts over time build results. The day you plant the seed is not the day you get the harvest. And you got to be planting seeds continually. But I also understand life's going to throw things at you guys, regardless if you're in business or not. It's going to. The great thing is you're holding in the key to your hand, the answer. And you are the answer. So sometimes you got to get out of your way and really get honest with yourself and really get accountable. And that's why my girls hit their VIPs, the ones that take it seriously. The ones that don't are either going to need to learn differently but the thing is, the people that hit is because I hold them accountable and they're listening and they're doing the action and they're getting this. I don't care if you don't hit your VIPs. I don't care if you don't hit your ranks. It's not about that right away, but it is about that because I want that for you financially. But you got to understand, you got to be here in order to level up. I use an arrow reference a lot. I have a lot of references clearly, but like an arrow is going to get pulled back before it gets launched forward. And you got to understand, in order to get launched forward to your next level, you got to get pulled back because you got to learn. Because guess what? Someone else on your tribe is going to go through that, and you're going to be that person that helps them grow from it. So you want to be that 12K leader, you want to be that 4K leader, you want to be a 200K leader, you got to get thicker skin, and you got to get accountable, and you got to start respecting your business the way your business is deserved to be respected. If you don't respect your business, it's not going to respect you back. It's not going, you can't cheat the hustle. You can't cheat the grind. Like, it pays you in accordance to the lives that you're touching.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That was good. That was a good answer. And it kind of, I'm glad I asked that, because it kind of flows into where we're going next. And there's someone on here who, their husband doesn't believe in them. Their husband tells them to give up, or maybe their friends and family, they're not supportive, or maybe they're just feeling all this defeat. And my top person I love right now is Rachel Hollis. She's my girl, and she talks about, I don't know if it's in Girl Stop Apologizing, but she's like, one day you're going to be 85 and you're going to look back. Are you still there, Brittany?
yeah.
Okay, sorry, someone's screen popped up. And she talks about, are you going to look back when you're 85 and think like, maybe I should have started that business, but, my sister-in-law would have judged me for it. Maybe I could have added more money to our bank account, but, my Aunt Carol, she laughed at that and said that wouldn't work out. Like, we constantly, it's so funny that we constantly live in this fear of other people and what they're going to think. And y'all, those people don't go to bed thinking about you. They don't wake up thinking about you. They're minding their own business. Yeah, they get on social media and see you building a business, but honestly, they really don't care. So I think a lot of these things that we're going to go over next, which to the woman who feels defeated, like, what would you say to her? How would you get her out of that mindset? So not the mindset that you were just talking about of enrollment and VIPs, but the mindset of, how do you gain that confidence in yourself to be bold and to show up? And, even when the money's not there and you're not where you want to be, how do you keep showing up to constantly serve and build a business?
I love that question. And I think for me, because I've been on both experiences of it, like Nick, for example, didn't understand this business when I first got with me. He never knew anything about this industry. So seeing me on my phone a lot, seeing me work my business and stuff like that, that was an argument at first. I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys. He didn't understand. And you know what? I had to sit down with him and I had to have a conversation, because if you are in a relationship and that is going on, you do need to have communication. I feel like that's a huge thing in anything, obviously, is communication. And so for me, like, I sat down and I said, I understand you don't understand this, and I'm not asking you to, but you're my partner. You're the person that you say you want to spend my life with, and you support me. So you need to support me. You don't have to understand it, but let me show you and I will prove you wrong. And that's exactly what I did. And you got to understand, you guys, it's not, I know this sounds kind of weird, but your partner is supposed to be your support. They don't have to understand everything, and they don't have to agree with everything right away. If this is what makes you happy, that's the thing that matters. And that's the key right there. You got to do things that make you happy. And in the moment you start making yourself happy, everything around you will start aligning, because you're going to give out a different energy. So for someone that doesn't support you, you got to also, what is not doing the action giving you? Like, honestly, like, what is that doing for you? It's keeping you exactly where you're at, exactly where you and you guys are. Most of the time, if you have a spouse that's fighting with you and stuff like that, it's because of money. It's because of bills. It's because of stress. It's because of life. So at the end of the day, instead of mindlessly scrolling and being stuck in that same spot, do 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here. Like, this business isn't hard unless you make it hard. It is just, it takes effort. That's what it does. And, and I don't know how else to say it, except for when you're feeling defeated, you got to rise above it. You got to just really ask, like, where do you envision yourself? Where do you envision yourself in 5 years, 10 years? Like, what are the desires in your heart? And you got to start believing that end result and understanding everything in between that end result is just a part of your journey.
Yep. And I think, first off, you just winged all of this because you didn't have notes in front of you. You were just such a golden, it's just in you. It runs through your blood.
I have ADD, you guys. I cannot.
When people reach out to me outside of the, sorry, 20 pillows on my bed. When people reach out to me and they ask for guidance and they ask for help outside of, enrollments and networking, like the power of what we do is connection. It's connecting, it's conversations, and you have to have lots of them. So, if you log on your cloud office right now and you're like, man, this is not where I want it to be. You look at your recent commissions, it's not where you want it to be. I want you to scroll through your phone the past 30 days, Instagram messaging, Facebook messaging. How many people are reaching out to you? You don't have to have perfect pictures to gain a level of, influence. It's just showing up every day to deliver. Like, I wake up and I'm like, who do I need to be excellent for? Who can I serve today? Like, literally, that's what I ask every single day, whether that's someone coming to my house and they need advice about, whatever they're going through, or, someone in front of me in the drive-thru and I get to pay for their food. Like, every day I wake up and I'm like, I have to show up at a level of excellence for every single person around me. And Brittany said, you guys, starting your day, I want to go back to that. It's so important to just start your day, wake up, take your products. Over these next 7 days, if you just committed to not checking your Instagram, not checking your Facebook, not checking Pinterest or your email for the first hour of your day, and you just turn something on, you turn on Tony. If you turn this off tonight and you watch Tony Robbins, I'm Not Your Guru, I rewatched it and it made me cry. And it's just, you have to find that within yourself. Hold on, there's something.
Can I say something really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a huge, and you guys, this is the one thing I have to just really say, because if you don't have passion, you need to find that passion. And that's the thing. And that starts truly, honestly, starts by taking your products consistently. And I have to freaking say that, because I see so many people want to be impacting others, but then aren't impacting themselves. And if you're not taking your products consistently and being that like representation, that's where my passion comes from, you guys. My passion and my consistency, because of how amazing our product is, but not only that, how impactful it has impacted my life. I don't know if that made any sense, because it did, like, was too the same. But
good. And there's a couple things I want to end on really quick. Like I said, the power of what we do is in connection, but it's people skills, getting others to think bigger. When people get in my inbox, I don't tell them how much money I make. I don't tell them my rank. They don't know what that means. I don't tell them, oh yeah, I got to do this and this and this. Like, I paint a picture for them. I get them to think, I challenge them, and I role model every day to my team and my social media. Like, I'm the same person that you will meet on my couch as I am on my Facebook Lives, and I am in my pictures. So, just seeking that mental energy, like you have to take care of your mind just as much as your body. Another thing for those of you who said on here, I'm struggling with being on my phone, or my husband makes me on my phone too much. You will produce so much more in your business if you have 3 blocked 30-minute sessions, rather than, you will outperform the 8-hour a day someone on their phone, multitasking, listening to a podcast, scrolling on their phone, answering messages, checking pictures on their Instagram, trying to cook, do all these things for 8 hours a day, versus the person who just spends, 3 30-minute sessions going through their messages, communicating with their team, putting a post up, replying to comments. Like, you don't have to be on your phone all day. If you were a little fly on the wall, you would just see that I'm focused. It's just hardcore action. Yeah. I'm dead. I have nothing else to say. And you did amazing. Is there any last tips you have for the tribe?
Just fit the business in the nooks and the crannies every day, like Katie's saying, you guys, but be intentional with that time that you are fitting it into the nooks and the crannies every day. Like, if you're on your phone too much and you feel that's a thing, balance is huge, but also being intentional in those moments you are on your phone. And that's it.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for hopping on in. If you're still on here, you can go ahead and cancel it out. We are all done, and I hope you guys all have a good night. Hopefully